Mansfields Melbourne is brought to you by Hudson Bond Real Estate, building for your future and assuring you of personal attention at all times. Good evening and welcome to our Thursday edition of Mansfields Melbourne. Every night at 6 we're here to bring you Melbourne's brightest people and the stories making news. Tonight we talk with one of Melbourne's favourite actors, Gil Tucker, also known on the screen as Roy Baker from Cop Shop. Plus we'll have the local Melbourne bulletin board with Claire Halliday. But first let's see what's making news, shall we? In Melbourne tonight, Thursday, April the 10th. And environment groups are fighting plans for a modern and enlarged new entry point to the William Rickett Sanctuary in the Dandenong Ranges. The National Trust is joining the fight to prevent the renovation, saying it's inappropriate for the environmentally sensitive area. The Asian Crossbow Championships will be held next week in Melbourne's northern suburbs. Competitors from Hong Kong, Japan and Taiwan are flying in for the championships to be held in the grounds of the Diamond Valley Archers at Yarrambat Park. Did you remember to pay your municipal rates by tonight? Rates across Melbourne are due to be paid by April the 10th deadline. Otherwise, incurring penalty interest payments will be assured. And at the Darabin Council in Melbourne's north, a statement has been released to deny claims that the council factions are at war with each other. The statement says the council is now united after having troubled times in the last few years. Unfortunately, one-third of Darabin councillors refused to sign the document. That's the news to this moment. What's making news in Melbourne tonight on Mansfields Melbourne. Welcome back. Our headliner guest for tonight on Mansfields Melbourne is a man known to a generation as Roy Baker from Cop Shop. Tonight we meet real actor Gil Tucker. Hello, Gil, how are you?
Bruce, nice to be here, mate. Thank you.
Well, it's lovely to catch up with you. The last time I saw you was in a sauna down at...
Yes, but we won't talk about that one.
No.
Oh, sorry.
We don't...
no, actually, we were telling jokes, I think.
Yes, we were.
Yeah.
Now, you're not telling jokes.
No.
You've got a herb farm. Why? What gives me that idea?
It's a strange thing. For the last 8 years, I've had a business called Australian Herb Supplies, and we wholesale. We don't actually have a farm, but we wholesale fresh fruit and veg, and baby veg and lettuce mixes and things to the restaurant and food industry. And we've done that, as I say, for about 8 years now. We go to the MCG and we do the footy, and we have some good accounts.
Well, just tell us exactly, Gil. You haven't got a farm as such.
No. We actually contract farms to grow for us. We, for instance, we move a lot of what's called mescaline, which is not what people might think, but it's lettuce mix.
Right.
And rocket and all these sorts of wonderful gourmet lettuces and things you see now. We started off about 8 years ago, and we have, when we started, people thought it was rabbit food.
Yeah.
But now it's actually caught on, and we used a farmer called Brian Hussey, who's a very good farmer, probably the best in his field in Australia. We started off using him, distributing his goods, and now we use, I suppose, 30 or 40 growers, and it's come quite big now. We just go to wholesale venues.
So you're like a bit of a co-op, to make it simple.
Yeah, well, basically we are actually a provedore, fruit and veg provedore, and it's sort of like a co-op, yes. We get a lot of herb farms together, we get them all in the one thing, they all grow for us, and we distribute their goods.
Yeah, but the smell of these herbs is magnificent. There's mint and there's basil.
Mint and yeah. We do a lot of baby veg too. We've got things like baby fennel, which is nice. And these little, here, these are baby capsicums, little baby red and orange capsicums. And we have other little things here called gooseneck squash, if I can just reach over there, Bruce, little squash.
You've got my favourite too, and that's the mixed...
That's it, the lettuce mix.
The lettuce mix, I love that.
Yes, another one, a very fashionable now called rocket, which we sell, which has just got a lovely sort of bite and tang to it.
Yeah.
So they're all there, baby bok choy, a lot of Asian things.
What about acting? Have you turned your back on acting, Gil?
Well, one of the things I've realised is that having not been available is that it's very hard. One of the things you realise is when you were an actor, the window of opportunity was always open. Even if you weren't working, you had the opportunity to, the job possibly coming up. If, as it's been for me in the last sort of 4 years, if the best job in the world came up, I couldn't do it. It's been terribly hard. So this August, I'm 50,
Right.
All right. And I've decided that I will be available from August to do some more work.
Right.
Which is, and this is my coming out speech, actually.
Good.
No.
Oh, well, this is terrific. As Roy Baker, you became a household name. It was a good series to do, Cop Shop.
It was.
Much fun.
Fantastic, fantastic. I believe you had Terry Norris on last week.
Yes, we did. He was
Well,
lovely.
one of the great things of working with Terry, and indeed most of the people there, but especially with Terry, was that we had a sort of a double act thing there.
You did too, behind the counter.
Yeah. You know, I suppose much along the same lines as you've had in comedy partners that you've been with, or partners you've been with, is that we never had to discuss what was funny.
Never, no.
You know, we never had to discuss, we never say, oh, that's funny. We just did it. It was just a thing that happened. It was just a lucky thing.
Terry is one of those people who's a really funny man. Just to look at him
Generally
makes me
funny.
laugh.
Generally funny.
Yeah.
And fantastic sense of the absurd, which I did enjoy. In fact, our rehearsals were probably more fun than the actual shows.
Gil, you've got a T-shirt on that we might
yes.
sort of get a close-up.
Shall I stand up or anything?
Yeah, no, just hold it out like that so we get a shot of it there.
Yeah.
It's fathers and daughters.
Yes,
Just
fathers
tell us
of daughters.
Yeah.
It's called FODs. It sounds a bit sort of strange, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But a mate of mine, Alan Fletcher, and myself and a couple of others, we got together and we realised that there's a whole lot of blokes who just had daughters, no boys. So we started this group called FODs. Basically, we just go and get drunk, really. But FODs, and it's fathers of daughters, and I think it says something in Latin, which basically is we who are the ones who know, or something.
Yeah.
But and it's just a bit of fun.
It's just an excuse for these blokes to get together.
Absolutely, and it's great because blokes these days, you know, this new age sensitive guys, snags, tend not to go down the pub or get together. I don't know whether you found it yourself, but quite often fellas that I should get together with never see.
No, you don't.
No.
If you had a son, would you automatically be flung out of that club?
I'll be gone. Yeah. Yeah, no, we can, apparently we are going to make some honorary people who've got sons who can get in.
Good.
A few.
Well, good luck with the farm. What's it's called?
Australian Herb Supplies.
Australian Herb Supplies, and I
yes.
suppose it's in the phone book and everything?
It is, yes, we're in Windsor.
Right.
In Windsor.
Well, Gil, it's
Right,
been
Windsor.
lovely catching up
Thanks,
with you.
Bruce.
Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Good on you. Gil
Okay.
Tucker.
Thank you.
And we'll take a break on Mansfields Melbourne. On Mansfields Melbourne each night we attempt to show the light on health issues, and counsellor Nathan Kotler is helping people who feel that their cannabis smoking has become out of control. Speaks to us now. Hello to you, Nathan. Thanks for joining us on Mansfields Melbourne. Now, Nathan is a counsellor specialising in addictive and compulsive behaviours, and these include food, gambling, and on this occasion, cannabis addiction. So how widespread is this?
It's a very hard statistic to give. The government's sending out a booklet to every household in Victoria,
Right.
and in that booklet it says that recent survey has shown that 42% of students have tried cannabis by the time they reach year 11.
Yes.
And that's close to half.
Yeah.
And anecdotal evidence says that it's very widespread in the adult community as well. A lot of people use it as a form of recreation.
Now, you don't look at that use as judgmental. Your issue is to perhaps counsel people who need help.
Right, right. People who smoke marijuana do it for two main reasons. One is the recreational use. They have it occasionally and it relaxes them, they have a good time. Other people who've used it for quite a while can become dependent.
Yes.
Not everyone becomes dependent, but some people can become dependent on it. And those people who have become dependent eventually start struggling with themselves. They want to get some control back. And that can be difficult for some. And that's what my group is aimed at.
It's called CHUF, and it's rather a good title. It stands for Cannabis Has Overtaken Our Fun.
That's right.
So what originally was a recreational activity is controlling them.
And it's no longer fun. And that's what upsets people, that it starts off as being fun and it's no longer fun, it becomes an addictive behaviour.
Right. Now, you're a teacher, you have great counselling experience, and you are conducting classes in this field, are you, Nathan?
Well, I was a teacher for 23 years, and then I decided that teaching wasn't meaningful to me anymore. What I wanted to do was work full-time as a counsellor.
Right.
So I started studying to gain a psychology qualification.
Okay.
I spent 9 years to be able to get to the point where I am now no longer a teacher and I work full-time as a counsellor.
And it also, we won't, it's too much to go into now, but there's also food and gamble as two other addictive, elements in our life that you can also counsel and give advice on.
Right. I run a special food group and I run a group for people who have lost control over their gambling as well, and I also work one-to-one with people as well as their families.
Right. Well, you're providing a very good service, because I'm sure there are some very sorry stories out there that that need help. Okay, thank you, Nathan Kotler from Nathan Kotler and Associates of South Caulfield. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
This is Mansfields Melbourne, back in a moment. Now to the northern suburbs, and we're out to Heidelberg, where hundreds of people queued at Oriel Road just before Christmas to see the marvellous decorations made by Keith Fowler. And he's our guest on Mansfields Melbourne. Hello, Keith, how are you?
Very good, thank you, Bruce.
Well, Christmas decoration. I suppose we should lead off by giving an example of some of the work that you do out there in Heidelberg. So, what are they, cutouts? What?
Yeah, they are cardboard, wooden cutouts with a poster on the front. But what we found is that over the years we've built this up to quite a selection, and this year in particular people have been asking very great quantities. Where do I buy them, who makes them, etc, etc, etc.
Right.
So what we're doing now is providing that service. Yes, we are open, yes, we will make them.
And there's an example of some of the work. It almost looks like the boulevard at East
Well,
Heidelberg.
without blowing one's own trumpet, 90% of people that came along said it was better.
Oh, that's good. So do you have a display of them in your factory or home?
No, we don't. At this stage we have them all at home, we don't have them at the factory. But as I say, if it certainly takes off, then yes, we will be having a permanent displays up in the factory.
And what is your most popular decoration?
It looks like it's the Santa's workshop, the little house on the side there, yes. That is a very popular one at the present moment.
Yeah.
Along with the individuals, but that one we've had 6 orders for now, which is quite
I
good.
was thinking you'd be one of the very few manufacturers of Christmas decorations, would you?
Yes, well, most people tend to make them themselves, but then again, there's a lot of people out there who don't want to do it, and there's nobody else does it.
I mean, the baubles, the balls, the bunting, you can buy that
We
anywhere.
can buy that anywhere at all, but then making it to suit these decorations is another thing.
Because
This is what we offer.
Are people decorating their gardens more?
We found this is so. We found that the Christmas spirit is certainly coming back, that this decoration of gardens is certainly growing throughout the suburbs.
Yes.
Hence we're getting the inquiries for them.
Also decorations for inside the house you have?
Inside we have a limited few. We're concentrating on the outside at
Mainly
present
outside.
moment. Yeah, the inside, you can go to places like Kmart and buy them. You know,
Yeah.
it's so easy
What
for them.
gave you the idea?
The inquiries the general public were making. I mean, I used to put on the Santa suit just before Christmas, and the number of people that asked where they could buy these was the thing to get us saying, we will make them
What
for you."
line were you in before this happened? Were you a carpenter?
No, we are contract packages actually. Carpentry trade, I learned as an apprentice, but then I gave it away long after that,
Yeah.
many years ago.
Well, it's not exactly a short time. It's 10 months to Christmas. And Keith Fowler Christmas decorations, you can phone him on 0418 563 828, and he's out in Oriel Road in Heidelberg. Well, thank you very much indeed, Keith.
Yes, thank you, Bruce.
And
Good on you.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
This is Mansfields Melbourne. Tonight's headliner on Mansfields Melbourne. It's a great pleasure to welcome back to Melbourne after a visit to London, Edward Beale. Hello, Edward. How are you?
I'm very well.
When did you get back?
Monday last week.
Right. And any reason for the visit?
Yeah, I was very honoured. I was a bit chuffed about it, actually. All the big names in hairdressing in London, like Nicky Clark and John Frieda, Vidal Sassoon, name dropping, aren't I? Daniel Galvin, had a benefit for a hairdresser called Leonard Lewis, and Leonard was the hairdresser that did Twiggy's hair and invented all those crazy colours and was very friendly with Sandra Rhodes and the green hair and all that sort of stuff. And he's a bit down and out in London, so to speak, so they have a benevolent there, and they started up a Leonard Trust.
Yeah.
So they invited me over to attend. So I got quite good acknowledgements, and the head got bigger and bigger all the time, you know, got more conceited than ever.
Well, so it should. So is this trust has just been recently set up?
No, there's a benevolent been going in London for down and out hairdressers, or hairdressers who are sick for that matter, that helps them. But this Leonard Trust is a branch of this. They've opened up a new trust for Leonard.
Are there many down and out hairdressers in Europe and London?
There's a few in Melbourne. I don't know. I think they mainly specialise in people that are down on their luck and sickness, and they had, you know, various hairdressers that I didn't know who they were, but they told them what, on like a report on what they'd done and helped them and so on.
So what is the trend over there? Did you have a look around the...
In fashion, it's brown. So we could all be wearing brown suits again soon, and it took about 20 years to get rid of them. Now they're going to come back.
And what about hairstyles?
Hairstyles, nothing really, you know, really outrageous. It's pretty sensible. It's all fairly bobbed and one length, and a bit of colour, a bit of crazy colour, a bit of pinks and blues and greens, but just maybe 1-2 flashes in the side. Nothing really too punk or over the top.
You brought back memories. It was Sandra Rhodes, wasn't it? She came out one, I think, Melbourne Cup time, and brought these crazy colours.
Yeah, Sandra said she lives in New York now, with, and she designs and makes clothes and sends them back to London. So she's married someone very wealthy, I think.
Right. You weren't here for our fashion festival.
I was. I got back for the last day of that and saw Helena Christensen.
Right. Your celebrity clients, you've always been the hairdresser to the stars in Melbourne. Are they still as prolific in the salons?
Yes, we've got, who do we got later? Oh, we've got Dermot Rurett, and then Eddie McGuire, and Sammy comes in. Who else?
Well, Sammy looks...
Lou Richards.
Sam's got a marvellous head of hair, hasn't he?
He has. He's got good hair, Sam. I don't think we'd actually been doing it the last couple of times, but we have done it.
Yeah.
I can't take the credit for that.
No, that's good. So what are the plans for you in the future? Are you expanding? I know you brought the Edward Beale shampoos and hair care products out.
Yes, we're opening a salon in Carlton about April. So that'll be, we consolidated for 18 months now, because my daughter and son run the business now.
Do they?
Yes, and I still oversee it and go in and, you know. I
heard you doing a radio commercial, and you mentioned your grandson.
Yes.
In conjunction with the Mercy Hospital.
Yes, that's right. That's young George.
Yeah.
And he's 5 months old now and really doing well. He was 3 months prem, and we did the appeal for the Mercy Hospital and on 3AW it was.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he's fine and healthy?
Yeah, he's great. When he was born, you could fit the wedding ring over his leg and foot.
Oh,
now,
tiny.
Now you can't even get it over his toes.
Oh,
so
that's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great news.
How does grandfather, does it make you feel proud? Or?
Well, I got 6.
Have you really?
Yeah, 6 grandchildren.
Goodness me, I mean, I remember you tearing around town as a teenager.
I still tear around town.
Yes, you never slow down, do you? So the Carlton salon is about to be opened?
Yes.
And the one in Toorak still going strong?
Yes, very strong. There's one in Hawthorn, and we've got a training salon in Richmond where we train hairdressers, because we get a lot of staff that not really up to standard. They might have good scissor skills, but we sort of teach them how to style hair and everything like that. And we've also got one in Melbourne Central.
Right. Oh, that's good.
So it's getting big again.
Yeah. Were you always interested in that? Did you, as a kid, did you?
I don't know. I don't think it was any message from God or anything like that that made me do hairdressing. I think I wanted to be a barber.
Right.
And the barber said, "Oh, women spend all the money," and he was right.
He was right.
He was right.
Beale, thank you. Welcome back to home.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us tonight.
My pleasure.
We'll be back after this break. Well, most nights on Mansfields Melbourne, we look back on the early days of Melbourne 100 years ago with the help of the National Film and Sound Archives, and we thank them so much for their contribution. Tonight we talk to somebody who, well, lived back in those days. It's my very special guest, a household name as Granny Davis for the bread company, Myrtle Woods. We welcome to Mansfields Melbourne.
Thank you, Bruce.
Myrtle, for coming in.
Lovely to be
You're
here.
looking wonderful. And you're telling me in 2 weeks' time, 97?
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Let's go back to the early days of Melbourne. And weren't you an usherette in those days?
I started as I wanted to be, we lived in Albury, and I don't know where I got the idea of an actress, but the nuns would ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I said either a nun or an actress, which wasn't so good in those days. No. But anyway, when I said actress, the only way I had to become an actress, I thought the next best thing was an usherette.
Oh, that's the closest you could
So I was to come down to the country and stay with my sister, and started Hoyt's in the Hoyt's Deluxe, it was in those days, an usherette downstairs.
Yeah.
And the head girl told me what I had to do, walk along and show my torch and that stuff. And I had to watch out for movers. And I thought, what's a mover? She said, a mover's a man, if you see he comes in and sits next to a lady and then he moves on to someone else, well, then you have to go out and get Charlie Fredrickson, the man outside Hoyt's, and evict him. So I was going along and switching the last I thought I saw a mover. I rushed out to get, what's his name, Fredrickson.
Yes, yes.
And when we came in one aisle and the mover moved out the other. I'd nearly driven him mad putting my torch on him all the time. But then they put me in the box office, and from there I started my theatrical career, because they got me doing a little bit of radio, and I was with Hoyt 17 years, and then I was at the Regent Theatre until I got married from there. But there, lots of young ones were there, but I was getting old by then. I was in my late 20s. So I went, my husband had a hobby for fowls, prize fowls, Rhode Island Reds. So I thought being in love was lovely to look after all these birds for him. But while I was looking after the feathered ones, he was looking at the chicks that weren't feathered.
We quite, you don't mind talking about this side of your life, Myrtle? You don't mind this?
No, but anyway, that's how. But then later on, I started doing bits and pieces in theatre, and I got with, I turned professional when I was 56 and toured Australia and New Zealand with Dame Sybil Thorndyke and Sir Lewis Casson.
What was the show? Do you remember?
The Chalk Garden.
Oh, yes.
And that's when I met Gordon Chater.
Yes.
Who now, when I do my bits and pieces and sail the century, he rings up from Labrador and he said, I'd like to speak to the star.
And so you are too. Tell us how the Granny Davis bread promotion started.
Well, it was a small bakery, a family bakery, the Wright brothers at Heidelberg. Mm-hmm. And there was this Mr. Hanbury, who was getting more modern stuff, and that he was an agent.
Yes, yes.
And he talked them into, he had this having a granny. There weren't any grannies like, or Father Christmases. Now there's grannies and Father Christmases on every street. I was the first out the ranks as a granny. And to get this granny's bread, and it was when sliced bread came to Australia.
Right.
So anyway, I went in to see them, and I was in for me, and when I went in, the girl, his secretary, took me along and said, Mrs. Woods, and he didn't say hello, how are you? He just said, oh, you're much younger than we thought you were. I said, I'm 63. I said, I'm not young, I'm 63. I wish I was 63 now, please.
Yeah. And is Granny Davis still on the market?
No, I don't think so. I think Tip Top owned it now.
Oh, I see, yeah. Well, you're really wonderful to come in and see us today. We appreciate it very much
Yeah,
indeed.
I'm afraid I haven't told you anything interesting.
You have, you really have. It's early Melbourne, and you've covered the gambit from the Graham Kennedy shows, and also we saw you in Sunset Boulevard at the opening. Of the
Yes,
show,
that's
in the
right.
actual theatre that you started
Yeah,
as an
they
usherette.
sent me the right and the, and I sat in the second front row,
Yes.
and in the next row was 4 gentlemen sitting, and Philip announced that Granny Davis was there.
Yes.
And people came over to shake hands, and this man in the front stood up and shook my hand.
Yeah.
So the lass sitting with me said, did you know who that was? And I said, no, because I couldn't see that one. And she said, that was the Premier, Mr. Kennedy.
Oh, lovely.
So
That's
that's
lovely.
nice.
Thank you very much indeed, Myrtle Woods, for being our special guest tonight on Mansfield.
Thank you, Bruce.
You're a real
My
treat.
pleasure.
We'll be back in just a moment.
This is the Community News. I'm Claire Halliday. Chronic pain sufferers in the northern suburbs may be left without vital support because of the closure of a pain management service at the Austin and Repatriation Medical Centre. The hospital has replied that it never ran a formal pain management service, but was only provided by the goodwill of staff in their own time. Darebin Council has passed strict laws to control the placement and operation of charity bins in the northern suburbs municipality. Introduction of the law follows complaints from local traders and residents about the appearance and placement of the bins. For the first time in 10 years, turnover has dropped at Northland Shopping Centre. Sales have dropped to $278 million for the past year, with the drop being attributed to the opening of a Myer store at nearby Greensborough. Springvale politician Eddie McAuliffe says he will ask a parliamentary committee to investigate whether areas should be set aside for people to inject themselves with drugs. Mr McAuliffe says it could be argued that since there were safe syringe exchange centres, people should also be given safe areas in which to use them. Well, that's all for now. Back to you, Bruce.
Thank you, Claire Halliday, for the local news, and that's it for another night in our city, April the 10th, the day when Salvation Army founder William Booth was born in 1829, and the day of the Siege of Tobruk began, pinning down the Australian 9th Division, afterwards known as the Rats of Tobruk. They were not relieved until August 1941, I know the feeling. Join us tomorrow at 6 when we meet with Melbourne's youngest football tipster, and I'm looking forward to it, on Mansfields Melbourne tomorrow night. And from all of us here, the cast and crew, good night.